Generally, it's a good idea to reduce fractions when solving math questions. To do this, use your knowledge of factors to cancel out all factors that the numerator and denominator have in common. In fractions, the number at the top is called the numerator. The number on the bottom is called the denominator. So, when it comes to adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing fractions, we think it's a good idea to first learn how to multiply them. You'll understand why this is after we've gone through all of them. Multiplying fractions is super easy. In fact, it's easier than adding fractions. That's why we're going to learn it first. So if we have the problem 1/4 times 2/3, that's the same as the problem 1 divided by 4 times 2 divided by 3. That means I have both multiplication and division in the same problem. And because they get along so well, that means I can just rearrange our problem to look like this. So if we go ahead and solve for this, that would be 1 times 2 equals 2, and 4 times 3 equals 12. And that's the answer to our problem. So what does all this mean? Well, it means that to multiply fractions, all you do is multiply the top numbers and multiply the bottom numbers. And there's your answer. Super easy, right? Now that we know this, let's move on to addition and subtraction. If fractions have the same bottom numbers, then all we do is add the top numbers and keep the same bottom number, like so. But here, 1 plus 1 gives us 2, and then we just carry over the bottom number. Let's do another. 5 over 16 plus 2 over 16. Again, since the bottom numbers are the same, all we do is add the top numbers. 5 plus 2 equals 7, and then we just keep 16 as the bottom number. So our solution is 7 over 16. But what about subtracting fractions? Does that work the same? In fact, it does. All you have to do is subtract the top numbers and then keep the bottom number. Yep, adding and subtracting fractions are easy, and there's a name for it. It's called like fractions. We call them this because the bottom numbers are the same, or alike. So like fractions are very easy. But what happens when you want to add unlike fractions? Then it gets a bit more complicated. So what do you do when you want to add or subtract fractions with different bottom numbers? You need to change them so that they do have the same bottom numbers. In math, that's called finding the common denominator. So let's go over a couple examples. In this method, the common denominator is always going to be the product of the bottom numbers. In other words, it would be the number you would get if you multiplied the bottom numbers together. All we're going to do is take the two different bottom numbers and make two different whole fractions out of them. Then, we're going to move the whole fractions to the opposite sides and multiply them by our unlike fractions. Then, we can add or subtract them easily